Welcome to another CVG TV Executive Interview Series. Today we're honored and lucky to be speaking with Mr. Merv Dunn, President and CEO of Commercial Vehicle Group, who will be retiring very soon. Merv, thank you for stopping by to talk to us today.
You're absolutely welcome, and John, thanks for actually doing this. This is an honor and a privilege, the same honor and privilege it's been to founded such a great company and to be part of it and to feel the love from the employees that we have.
Thank you. You've been called the architect of CVG. Under your leadership, the company has gone from being in the United States only, with 2 customers that provided 95% of our business, to now being in 9 countries with a very diverse manufacturing base. Revenue last year approached $1 billion. How did you create the roadmap that took us from where we were then to where we are now?
You know, John, one thing growing up, I was always kind of embarrassed because I was born into poverty, and I've always heard that you are born a visionary, you can't be trained, you can't be whatever to become one. And I think I became one out of necessity, because every time in life when you are born like that and you want out, you really are creating a vision of where you want to be in life. And it's a vision that was in steps. And the thing about that people have to understand with visions are, at some point you outgrow that vision a little bit, then you have to readjust it, and you keep readjusting it with your company as with your life. And you know, my vision when I was a child was just to be able, I would imagine myself in a nice home, you know, and that nice home was actually, you know, a real nice little 2 or 3 bedroom home, a nice car, and you know, my uncle had a 1,300 square foot home, and I thought, if I could ever have something like that, a block home, if I could ever have that, I would just be so happy. And so that was my visions to start out when I was a kid. You know, I created those visions, and then I marched to it to try to accomplish them. And it's the same way with our company. When we were with just in the U.S. and just had the 2 customers, and we had a $67 million run rate when I took over. It was like, not what I want to be tomorrow. What can I envision? What do I really want? What do I want to be part of? And I envisioned that I wanted to be part of something that the customers wanted enough that they would pay for it. The employees were proud enough of it that they would want to work here, and that I and my family would want to be part of it, and it was something greater than I ever could be. And I think the sum of all things together makes us just a phenomenal company, and it allowed me to be part of something greater than I was.
It's interesting that you brought up your childhood, because that was my next question. I've always felt that the rise of CVG kind of mirrors you in your own personal life. To say that you came from a humble background is an understatement. Your mom and dad had no formal education, had to work for everything that they ever got in their life. So you created that roadmap as a boy. This is where I am here in Winchester, Kentucky. And you ended up at the top of the business world. Was there any serious planning that went into that, or was it just all drive, all heart?
No, I think being an entrepreneur, and I watched my uncle start out with no education, started selling used furniture out of his garage, ended up with a little bitty small store, then ended up building his own store where he could walk down to work if he chose, but he always drove his pickup there with the sign on the side of it to advertise his company, his furniture store. I watched my dad go from bankruptcy in Ohio when I was 5 to the mountains of Kentucky, and was probably the first entrepreneur of the family, because he hauled whiskey out of Portsmouth, Ohio, and sold it in bootlegged. So I think any entrepreneur is maybe 50% inspiration and 50% perspiration. So, you know, it's always, anyone can come up with a vision, and the vision has to be sound, and anyone can put the hard work in it to implement their vision. And I watch my mother, and I have you know, so it's not all about just hard work, because there's nobody that I've ever seen or ever been around in my life that worked as hard as my mother did. And with a third grade education she had, and my father couldn't read and write, after the third grade I could kind of lie, you know, you don't have homework, Mom, after the third grade. They quit all that kind of silliness. And it was, but in many ways you kind of get robbed of your childhood, because you become responsible for most of the things that require any type of self-motivation, as far as getting through school, through high school, and through any portion of your life. You become motivated yourself, or either you don't make it. And it's hard when you're a child to say, oh, I need to do this instead of going and playing, or I need to do this instead of this, you know.
And you had that self-discipline because you couldn't rely on your parents to help you with the homework past the third grade. You had that self-discipline to make yourself do it.
Well, I did just enough to get by, you know, and to be honest. And the rest of the time, it was the other things in life that kind of drove me. But yeah, I think that that's the one thing that I've always wanted to make sure that my kids had, was the ability to enjoy their childhood, because it's a little different. You know, my parents never got any of the chances I got. I mean, my grandparents were tenant farmers. They lived on the farms in Appalachia, and they had to work the farms all year round with all their kids to be able to just get the food to go on the table. So they got robbed of any kind of childhood and mostly of any kind of life. And my mom's phenomenal. My father's passed away, but my mom lives up here, as you know, and you've met, and she'll be here at the annual meeting tomorrow. She always, you know, CVG, she feels like it's her company too, and that's what I love about it.
Speaking of CVG, there are many, many milestones we could talk about that CVG has passed with you at the helm. Acquisitions and organic growth all over the world, most notably in Asia. CVG going global, or excuse me, going public on the NASDAQ. The construction of the corporate headquarters here in New Albany, the R&D Center, countless awards, nominations for awards. When you look back, is there any one achievement that you feel you're most proud of? Or conversely, is there anything maybe you wish you'd done differently?
I try to never second guess what I've done, that it was good or bad, because I try to spend more of my time looking out what's next. To create, it's just like going into leaving CVG. I've had to quickly rethink what my vision for my life is for the next phase, the next chapter of the book. And so I don't really spend a lot of time of rethinking what I've done or didn't do. I've always had a commitment to myself that I would never be one of these 80-year-olds sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair going, man, I wish I'd have tried that. So probably the thing I'm most proud of on my own, and the only thing I've ever accomplished on my own really, was saying, I'm not going to be sitting on a front porch and wishing I had of. Because it's just like CVG. That's, you know, I get the credit for it, but it's all the people that really made it happen. And I think I did a good job of creating the vision. I think I did a good job of selecting the people that are in the company, because I've had a strong voice in just about everybody that's come into the company. And I'm just proud of CVG. You know, it's just a most amazing group of people, an amazing company, and the opportunities they've afforded me. How many people ever get to go through life and go, I started my career out in the shop floor loading boxes in 1973 for GTE Sylvania in the UAW, to becoming part of a private equity group that took a company over that showed tremendous growth in the company, got to name the company, got to take it public, got to create an atmosphere that I think is very family friendly, and I try to make sure that everybody feels that their family is the most important, and then that we treat it that way. And so I think that's probably the accomplishment I'm most proud of, that I've been able to manage myself in the way that I want to, that I've taken the risks that I think that are necessary, and I've remained my personal respect, because I never want to do anything that would make my family lose respect for me, my friends, or the employees lose respect for me. That doesn't mean they always like me, even at my family.
As a leader, leaders can't always be liked.
Yeah, that's never been my issue or desire. I've always just had the issue of being respected, and that's the key. Just wanting people to respect me, know that I'm morally and ethically sound. And
well, you have a lot to be proud of with everything you've accomplished here. Taken as a whole, it's just remarkable.
Well, thank you, Johnny.
You also do quite a lot to give back to the community. Most notably, my favorite event of the year, the CVG Car, Cycle, and Truck Show. It's raised over $200,000 for children's charities here in Central Ohio. What inspired you to do a car show, for one, with the stated goal of helping children?
Well, first of all, children, to me, are so precious, regardless whose child it is. It's just, the saddest thing is seeing a child that's sick or seeing a child that's mistreated, but we can't forget the children that seem to have everything, because the outside is never a picture of what's on the inside, or very seldom is. And there's nothing more beautiful to me than seeing a child smile, whether it's got all the teeth or missing the front ones, being, you know, an infant. But I love the smile of the children. And the reason for the car and cycle and truck portion of it is we're obviously a component manufacturer for all three, including Harley-Davidson with the electrical wiring harnesses. And I think that was one of my biggest motivations to get a job and to do well, was I wanted a nice car. And I think that a lot of young people, they want a nice car.
I remember feeling that myself.
Yeah. And I think that the smiles I see on these young people walking around here when they get to see cars that you and I never got to see in our childhoods growing up. I mean, you walk through our car and cycle show and you'll see anything from a $15,000 car to almost a $2 million car. And I mean, how many people even adults, you see the child come out in the adults when they walk by and they see this car, and it's like they're imagining that Hot Wheels car that they had back when they were kids. And I don't know, that's just such a pleasure for me. And giving back to the community is vital for corporations to be good citizens, and it's vital for us as employees to be good citizens. And to me, to be a good citizen doesn't mean that you abide by all the laws in the community, because God knows I've been down here for speeding and parking tickets a few times.
Yes,
but
you have.
being a good citizen is participating in the community and giving back to the community in other ways than speeding tickets. It's going through, and when you see a need for help, you pitch in. You don't ask where there's help. You go and give help, because people usually don't ask for help. They have a hard time asking for help, and I want to make sure that if I see a need, that I don't wait for someone to ask for it. I go and try to pitch in and help.
Well, there are many people here at CVG that literally owe their careers to you, not to mention countless people around the world that owe their livelihoods to your leadership, your dedication, your hard work and drive. And speaking as someone who can honestly say, I know for a fact I would not be where I am without you, I want to say thank you for everything that you've done for CVG, everything that you've done for me, everything you've done for all of us. And thank you for stopping by to talk with us today, Merv.
Absolutely. Thank
Good
you,
luck
Johnny.
in the next phase of your life.
Absolutely. And, you know, until we find a new CEO, I'll be around here, and even when I'm gone, this place will still be a big place in my heart, and I just want so much success for it. So,
Thank you,
thanks
sir.
again.